If you're not listening to the Smoke World podcast, you're wasting your time, you mortal.
What's up, folks? Welcome to another episode of Smoke World. I'm your host, Stone. So go grab that stick, go grab a glass of whatever you're drinking. Let's sit back and have a conversation. You can follow me on Instagram at Smoke World Podcast. And I tell you this every time, folks, send those emails to stone at smokeworldpodcast.com. I can't beat you up enough about this website, folks. If you haven't checked out the website, smokeworldpodcast.com, go check it out. Again, I told you, we're going to be doing some things. If you ain't paying attention, you're going to miss it. Go and support the sponsors. Today's guests. On today's episode, I have the pleasure of having a junior and a senior. From Bean to Bean Coffee, I have Obel Jr. and Obel Sr. Fellas, what's up, brothers? What's going on with you?
Hey, what's up, Stone? What's going on, Stone?
Oh, man, everything is everything. All right, so we'll start with Senior. Senior.
Talk to me.
Where you from, brother?
Yeah, I was originally born. I was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York.
New York guy.
Lived there for 45 years of my life, and then kind of after a while, this was after actually 9/11. My wife and I, we both packed it up and moved out to all places, Minnesota. So
Minnesota.
We were there.
Man.
Yeah, we actually that was that was a. For reasons that were business related. Thought I'd start a business out there with a brother-in-law. It didn't work out. Couldn't tolerate it very much living out there in the middle Mideast. I've been to the Mideast, but anyway, the Midwest. And so then we shot back, and I'm currently living in Pennsylvania for going on 14 years now, man.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's what's up. All right, now, Junior, how about you, brother? Where you from?
Yeah, so I also was born in New York, in Brooklyn, and moved to Queens when we were younger. Spent some of that time in Minnesota, but then while they were living in Minnesota, I had the privilege and luck of being able to travel the world a little bit and traveling within the U.S. and living in a couple different states. I lived in Texas, I lived in Florida, and I also lived in China for a while. And
Whoa.
I lived in Australia. Yeah.
Okay,
So
you've been around a little bit. All right,
Yeah,
so you've
yeah.
been around a little bit. Okay, so I got to ask. Well, I got Junior now. You on Smoke World, brother. We're going to have to ask this question. Do you smoke cigars, brother?
Yes, I've had. More lately than ever, actually.
So now you smoking cigars. How long have you been smoking?
Probably since college. Yeah.
All right, that's what's up.
College, yeah.
Well, I got to stop you because we don't know what college is. We don't know if you're like 19 years old right now. So how long has that been? Like a year, couple
I'm
years?
32 now. College was 18, so.
A couple years.
Yeah, I got introduced to cigars in college through friends of my fraternity brothers. And then, here and there, I would smoke some, but now that I've been introduced to it through coffee more, through our relationships, it got me into trying new ones, and pairing it with coffee actually enhanced my palate. It brought new flavors out in the coffee that I wasn't tasting before, and vice versa. The cigars, it enhanced the flavors of the cigars.
Okay, we're going to definitely get into that. Now, Dad, we got to ask you the same question, Dad. Have you smoked cigars? Do you smoke cigars? Talk to us.
No, man, I've never really been a smoker. Definitely never really smoked cigars. I was at a cigar shop not too long ago when these guys were all sitting around, my two sons and Jonathan, one of our colleagues. We were sitting around at the cigar shop. They started, puffing on some of these things, and I'm sitting there. So I took a puff or two, and I didn't like it. I've never liked it, didn't like it then. I've really never I really didn't smoke anything but marijuana when I was younger, man. I smoked enough marijuana to kill a horse.
Okay, so you ain't feeling that leaf. You like some other kind of leaves.
Yeah.
I ain't mad at you. I ain't mad at you. Okay, let's get into this now. We're gonna talk about Dad. Dad, you got this coffee company, which is excellent, Bean to Bean. How did you get into coffee, brother? How did this whole story start?
Yeah, so, you know what? Now that I'm saying that, I was working for Maxwell House Coffee. It was owned by General Foods at the time. We're talking about almost 35 years ago now. 35 years ago, I was looking for a job. I was walking down Wall Street. I visited this agency, hiring this job agency, and they said, "Hey, you wanna try this job out? It's for General Foods. It's entering information into a computer, and what it was entering either approvals or rejections for the coffees they were buying for Maxwell House." And so I started working for Maxwell House back in '85, and so we were I was pretty much just a table setter. After a while, I became one of their trusted coffee tasters, and after a while, I started traveling the world and learning so much about coffee that it actually became a passion after a while. But I said all of that, and I just one thought going back to the smoke and cigar thing. General Foods was actually purchased by Kraft, and then Kraft was purchased by Philip Morris.
Oh, nice. Interesting.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you this question, too, here, because now I used to have a coffee shop back in the day, long time ago, and the co-owner didn't drink coffee. Were you a coffee drinker prior to getting this job, or that really wasn't your thing, or you have a cup of coffee every now and then?
Oh, yeah, no, I kind of grew up as a little guy. I don't know, I must have been about maybe 10 years old, and I drink about a cup of coffee with a lot of milk. You know, my mother would make the coffee, and she'd put milk in it, and I drank, and I would drink that. Currently I drink about maybe 3 cups of coffee a day, but I taste a whole lot more than that when I'm actually grading coffee for the New York Stock Exchange, and so that'll be I don't know, maybe 200 cups in one sitting sometimes.
You actually drinking a whole cup, or you just kind of like tasting the coffee?
Yeah, no, I'm picking a little bit up with a spoon, spraying it throughout my mouth, and then I spit it out into actually a dentist spittoon is the way they have it set up at the exchange.
Okay, so similar to the wine tasting, something along those lines.
Yeah, you take a little zip, you squirt it around your mouth, and then you can drink it. I mean, if it tastes real good, I'll drink it.
All right, so now I'm assuming this is black coffee, no sugar, no cream. All right, my man Heavy D. But yeah, so this is actually black coffee. There's nothing in it. Is that correct?
Hold on. Well, Bell just threw me off with that saying. Say that again, Obel.
No, just singing some Heavy D.
Never mind. What was your question again, Stone?
Yeah, now the tasting, was this strictly a black coffee?
Oh, yeah. So it's called a steep cup. So what they do is I just show up there. They have everything set up. I look at the raw material physically to make sure that the color is right. That it doesn't look faded. That it has some green tonality to it. So there's a range, and if I think it looks green enough, I approve the color. Then I take an aroma of the raw material. And if there's no off odors, that it's good that way. I'll physically grade it for defects or imperfections. So different coffees have a different amount. A commercial preparation will have, however many defects. There's a company that I know of that goes up to, over 200 defects in their purchases of green coffee. Bean to Bean has 0 to 8 defects, which makes it a specialty coffee, right? So I'll physically test this coffee, I'll grade this coffee, and if it does it, as long as it's what we call tight, in other words, it's less than 15 defects, I can approve it based on the final, analysis would be the coffee gets the grind. The people that are working, the staff that's working the lab, will take grinds, put it in a cup, and then they'll pour water. That's why they call it steep cup. And this is the way they do it worldwide. And so if you go to, Costa Rica, Guatemala, wherever, they'll do this. They'll have the same method. The exporters, the farmers, they'll take the grinds, they'll put it in the cup, they'll pour water directly over the top of those grinds, let those grinds settle, and then they'll take an aroma. They'll take a swig of it with a spoon, and then they'll feel it out. They'll know whether it's fermented, dirty, sour, or whether it's got some really good characteristics coming through.
Wow. Like I said, I don't think folks knew it was that much involved with the coffee. So we're learning some things. Now, you mentioned a little earlier something about green in color. So at that point, is the coffee green in color?
Yeah, the coffee comes in a what we call a cherry pod, right? So when the coffee is growing on a tree, it'll be almost similar as looking at a cherry. It's just turns first it's green, then it'll turn yellow, then it'll turn red. When it's red, that means it's ripe, and they call it cherry. If you're in a Latin American country like Costa Rica, they call it uva, grape, right? So coffee is actually a fruit. So when it's growing on the tree and it's red, then they pick it, and then they inside that cherry, there'll be another layer of parchment. And all of that gets removed, and after you remove all that stuff, you'll have, actually, this is where the name bean to bean came from, or derives from, right? Is because there's two beans inside that one coffee pod, or that cherry, and they're together, almost like a peanut, right? There's typically two peanuts in there. So you have two beans in there, and that's where we got the name bean to bean from, right? So so then those two beans in there are green. They're pretty hard, and that's what we call the raw material, or the green bean.
Interesting, brother. Interesting. All right, we're gonna get into the bean to bean. Now, you have your own coffee company. How long has this been in existence?
Wow. So I started it by myself way back somewhere around like 2010, and it was something that I wanted to do. I wanted to continue in coffee. When I got back from Minnesota, and after leaving Maxwell House, I went to Minnesota. I was working for actually two coffee companies. I worked for Caribou Coffee, which is a somewhat popular name even here on the East Coast. If you go to Costco, you'll see Caribou Coffee.
I have.
And then I left Caribou Coffee, and I was working for the third largest nationwide. It's the third largest grocer in the country, and that would be Super Value. I think in Pennsylvania they have the Acme supermarkets. They have different banners where, depending on what part of the country you go to, right? So it's Acme here in PA. In Minnesota, it's Cub Foods. So I was working on their coffee team there. And then when I came back here, I didn't have a job, and and so I said, you know what, I'm going to start my own coffee company. And that's what I did.
Interesting.
Yeah, and so going back to like late 2012, I was still doing solo. My wife was helping me out, but it got really tough. And I said to my wife, you know what, I think that I might just fold, and just stop the madness, because I was trying to do it all by myself. And when I said that to Obel, my son, I said, this February, I'm thinking that I'm going to shut everything down. There comes a point in time, Stone, when you got to know when to fold them, right? You got to know when you just
when
wasting
your cards.
your time. So I said that to Obel. He said, "Hold on a minute." He said, "You know what? I'm going to get in. I'm going to get into this with you." And so he did it. He got into it. An old time friend of his, and I knew I knew the same fella. He was just about, I don't know, maybe 5 years old when I saw him for the first time, Jonathan Pastor. He decided that he wanted. Now, these guys have marketing and branding degrees, and that's kind of the thing that drives Bean to Bean is their ability to help people understand what Bean to Bean is all about. And not only that, now and then my younger son, he decided that he wanted to jump in, and consequently turned out to be a great sales guy. And so he's out there rocking and rolling every day, and he finds accounts all the time. And so we're out there doing our thing, and now now we've got quite a team. It's not only the four of us, but we've got a bunch of other people that are working at Bean to Bean at the warehouse. We have a location at the Fashion District in Philly. That's a little bit of a fancy little office space that we have there, and we bring customers in there when we want to impress them a little bit, I guess you could say. But yeah, it's Bean to Bean has grown. My responsibility is to make sure that the cup of coffee that you drink is consistently great. Every time you have it, it's specialty. It's the best that I know that we can get our hands on.
That sounds pretty good. Now, I compared that and I think about your business as they do in the cigar business. But you got these major brands in coffee, and now, in the cigar industry, we got major brands in the cigar industry. So, you would be a boutique cigar guy, so you're a boutique coffee guy. So with all that being the case, I guess what is the biggest challenge being a small company with all these big fish? What is the challenge? You think, is it marketing? Because again, your coffee is better, but now you need to know and get this information to the masses. So was it, you think, more of a marketing thing is a challenge for the business? Or what would you say one of the challenges is that you face with the coffee company? Are you looking for a new platform to connect with other cigar smokers, consumers, lounges, and brands while escaping tobacco-related rules of other social media platforms? Then look no further. Stogie Lives, the new social media platform for cigar lovers created by a female. So come join Stogie Lives, STOGIELIVES.com, where every cigar lover has a place to connect.
Yeah, Obel will give you a little bit of idea. He's really day to day, hands on. That's his side of the business, and he handles that on a day to day basis.
Yeah. So there's, the large companies like you were just talking about. I consider ourselves similar to like the beer industry. There's a lot of microbreweries, and then you have the big boys like Anheuser-Busch and Miller Lite. So like, what's going to set you apart from them? It's really what my dad does on sourcing the best green we can find and roasting it to the best quality of that bean and make sure the best characteristics stand out. And then it's our customer service and our relationships that we create with our customers. I think we provide the best in Philly, and people see that and they reach out to us. Because of the people we currently work with, we build those relationships. We show them like why you want to be part of the Bean family, and then they share that with other entrepreneurs, other business owners, and they just want to be a part of it. And so that's how we set ourselves aside on the business side, and on the more direct to consumer side through our website and through our social media. We really focus on being creative and working with local artists. Bean to Bean is a way that we express ourselves through coffee in an artistic way. And we try to connect with people through coffee who are also artists. And that's really what sets them apart on that side too.
Good stuff. Now, here's the thing. Now, you guys already know this, but in the cigar world, coffee is a major pair, something that we pair coffee, cigars, you hear that all the time. So now, folks, if you haven't had Bean to Bean, go check them out. They're on the podcast website as a sponsor, but go check them out. They're going to get that information up in a couple minutes. But we want to get into pairing a cigar because a lot of cigar smokers have a cup of coffee in the morning to go with their cigar. Now, here's the $1 million question, fellas. Okay. which way or which concept of brewing or percolating the coffee, what is a better method to get the best flavor out of our coffees? Because, we got these K-cups based on convenience. The old percolators, you can't find those no more. You got to go to grandma's house to go steal hers off the counter if it still works. So in your opinion, fellas, what is the best way that we can actually get the full flavor of that coffee? First of all, I guess we need to start off with the right coffee. But what would be the best way to enjoy our coffee? Again, we got K-cups, and I know you're probably going to put your face up to that like, that's a joke. That's a commercial joke. But again, I want your opinion. Right. So based on that whole conversation, give us your opinion on the best way to get the best flavor of the coffee that we're drinking.
Yeah. So similar to cigars and beer and wine, it's all subjective up to what you think is best, right? I might like something and you don't, but that doesn't mean it's the best. So I would say first choose your favorite cup of coffee. And then when you're thinking about brewing methods, the brewing method I think that's the best is any type of submerging, or when you can take the coffee and submerge it in water and let it steep for a while. So that's, for me, I like French press. I think that when you let the water in the grind sit there and steep for about 4 minutes, that's going to really enhance and extract the most amount of flavor from coffee that you're drinking. So any type of steep method or slow drip method where the water can actually extract that the most amount of flavor out of the beans and out of the coffee, that's the best method.
Okay, now you guys I know have a variety of coffees, and we hear all these different types of coffee, the French rose and the Colombian. So again, give a little bit of history or explanation on exactly what is that? Is that this region? Again, talking about Colombian coffee, I'm pretty sure that's a region, but maybe it isn't. I don't know. So educate the listeners on these different types of coffee that we see every day we go to the store. But I don't think really folks, if they really want to be honest with themselves, know what they're looking at. They just see the name. They just know what their mom and dad bought. Oh, I'm going to buy that coffee. So give us a little bit of history or educate us on those different titles that we see and the differences maybe in flavor that we're dealing with.
Right. So if you were buying bean to bean, you would find the name Franklin Reserve, Schuylkill Select, 76 Espresso, Italian Market Espresso, all Philly-centric type of names. We have an Old City decaf, which is really fantastic. It's an organic decaf. It's hard to tell that it's even decaf. It's so good. All of our coffees are specialty coffees. They're all like high grown European prep. Whatever. There's times when Stone, I'm dealing directly with the farmer, and we will get coffees where I've been dealing directly with the farmer to get. He'll send me samples. I'll roast those on a sample roaster. Sometimes it has to go through a bit of testing. Like I didn't like it. He'll send me another sample, and it'll take some time, sometimes months. But once I nail it down, flavor wise, then we go ahead and make a purchase of several bags of coffee. I'm working on a Puerto Rican coffee. Don't know if that will materialize this year or next year or even the following year, only because they've had some Puerto Rican coffee, not because I'm Puerto Rican. Puerto Rican coffee happens to be, one of the best coffees out there. People don't know that. The only places, if you consider Puerto Rico part of the U.S., right? The only places that are part of the U.S. that grow coffee is Hawaii and then Puerto Rico. And Puerto Rico grows great coffee. They've had, the disaster of the Hurricane Maria kind of wipe everything out. And so they're in the process of, they replanted trees about 3 or 4 years ago, and it takes time for those trees to mature and then to really give out the best that they can give out. and so we're getting close. And so one day soon you'll go online and you'll see coffee from Puerto Rico on there. But all the coffees that we have and that you can get online, those coffees are coffees that are that I've kind of put through the through the testing, and so if it's a blend, it consists of one of our blends. The Franklin Reserve has Guatemalans. It has Kenyans. It has Nicaraguan, and it has a top-notch Brazil. Those are the four beans, and they're all gourmet, specialty coffees that goes into making the Franklin Reserve. I think that's a medium to dark roast, and so not only do you have these blends that I created, but then Obel said, we try to optimize the roast color and the roasting process so that it brings out the best possible flavor out of each individual bean. And then, and so we have that. We'll have a lighter roast, like the Schuylkill Select is one of the lighter roasts that we have. That has Tanzanians, Brazils, Colombians, and I think it's a medium roast. So that, and so then, the 76 Espresso is a fantastic blend of coffees. And what we discovered some years ago now, this just happened, right? We had it out there as an espresso coffee for people that wanted to make espresso on an espresso machine, and consequently someone started using it as a cold brew coffee, and we tasted it, and it knocked our socks off. And that's one of our hottest sellers, in Philly. It's a great, I don't know, people just love. I think it's the best cold brew coffee in Philly. That's my opinion.
Okay, I like that. I just want to revisit something that you said because you brought up a interesting point. You're saying you got some great coffee coming from Puerto Rico. Now, what makes the coffee great? Is it the environment, the soil? Is it something similar to in the cigar world? We be dealing with the soil, the tobacco. So, what goes into making this coffee better from one region to the next, in your opinion?
I'm sorry. Yeah, I got a frog stuck in my throat. What makes it the best is what you're asking?
No, I'm asking because you mentioned that Puerto Rico has some great coffee. Is it the environment and the soil that makes a great coffee? What are some of the elements that go into making a great coffee? Because in cigars, we deal with, the soil, the tobacco, the environment. So is it the same when you're dealing with a coffee bean?
Yes. So there's a lot of things that go into developing a really hardy, what we call hard, actually. You have strictly hard beans. You have fancy beans, and all of that. So if you went to Costa Rica, for instance, right? You're talking, this is where the best coffees come from, the best coffees in the world. So if you went to Costa Rica, you would have one of the things that you take into consideration would be the altitude, right? So anything over 5,000 feet above sea level is something that you look for when you're looking for really, really good coffee. For the reason for that is in areas like that, you will have volcanoes. In the volcano, throughout the centuries, these things have erupted. They fill the land with volcanic ash, and that volcanic ash is the stimulant for the soil that produces this great coffee.
Interesting. Gotcha. Okay, so that's okay. Good stuff.
Those are some of the elements. It's very mountainous, right? But if you go to Brazil is very flat. It's a flat terrain, and they have their own way of growing the best coffee that they can grow, and it's just has a lot to do with how they care for the plants. Whether or not they're making enough money, right? This is where fair trade comes in. They pay people to go out there and actually hand pick the weeds from around the trees, because obviously, that applies here on the East Coast, right? You want your flowers to grow real pretty, you got to rip those weeds out, or else they'll suck up all the nutrients and everything else that it's funny, right? You want to grow something, and you have a hard time growing the stuff that you don't want to grow. Grows
you're right.
Really
It's always like that.
So there's a lot of work, a lot of preparation, a lot of sorting that takes place, right? So if you go to Colombia, for instance, Colombia is one of the countries that actually has 2 harvests a year. So they'll have one around October, November, December. That's called the primary crop, and then in May, June, July, they have what they call the second, or the mitaca, right? The middle crop. So they'll go back out and they'll pick again, and because all they're doing is picking the beans that are ripe. So some beans kind of tail behind, and because of that, the pickers have to go back out and pick them later on when they get ripe. If you're going to places like, and I've been to some of these places like Vietnam, that's where they have a lot of Robusta coffees. Those coffees are for the most part, they're low-grade coffees, and the pickers will go out and they'll strip the entire branch all at once. So all of that stuff lends itself to the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Okay, interesting. I do have just one question here too. The difference between espresso and coffee. What's the difference?
So espresso is really the grind that you make for drinks. It's misunderstood that it's the intensity or that it's a roast level. It's really the grind level, because when you grind it for espresso, it's a lot more finer, and then you make espresso drinks out of that. But in the last several years, people have been using lighter roasted coffee in espressos. So that's what that deviation is in the name espresso.
Okay, good stuff. Now, I do have a question here, because if folks are listening to this and want to know, are you selling to the consumer, or are you only strictly targeting businesses at this moment? If somebody's listening to this right now, like, man, that sounds good, I'm ready to get some of that coffee. Could a consumer go and say, can they go online and order the coffee, or is it strictly right now you're just strictly dealing with businesses and not the consumer itself directly?
Yeah, we are dealing directly to the consumers. So you go to bean2bean.com. That's with the number 2. So BEAN, the number 2, BEAN.com. And honestly, if one thing good came out of the COVID situation for us is that this website, we launched it end of January, early February, right before the pandemic in March. And it was we were only direct to business to business before the pandemic. And we launched this website as a way, because we had family and friends and people here and there who we met through everyday life. We're like, oh, like, you have a coffee company, where can I get it? We would tell them, like, we don't sell it direct to consumers. You can go to, like, our accounts and get it there. So we just built this website so that it would actually make our lives easier. We tell them, go to the website and buy the coffee. It actually saved us, because we lost 95% of our wholesale business, right at the beginning of the pandemic. But luckily we had this website, and we told people, hey, and if you live in Philadelphia and you go to our website and order, we'll deliver it to you next day. Like, that's our guarantee. Actually, ever since we did launch that, we haven't missed a day, and that's the way people were getting our coffee to them when they couldn't go to the restaurants and cafes.
Good stuff here. Okay, get that website out again.
Yeah, it's bean2bean.com. BEAN, the number 2, BEAN.com.
Okay, are you guys on any social media? If you're on social media, give those handles out as well, so folks can go and get this coffee. Because again, folks, I had this coffee. It's a banger. It makes a difference, and I'm laughing because let me ask. Before you answer that question, before you answer that and give that information out, I hate to ask this question because you might kick me in my balls. Do you guys or are you guys going to make any K-Cup coffees?
Not anytime in the near future. I would say we did dabble with it early on, but it really didn't meet our standards of what we wanted to provide.
All right, I'm gonna stop you right there. Okay, so you're trying to say in a nice way. You're trying to say that's bootleg. You're trying to say, Stone, stop drinking. If you're drinking the cake, that's what you want to say. Just go ahead and say it to me, man. You ain't got to come up with a nice little. Well, we tried it in the past, but it's some bullshit, and we ain't messing with it. That's what you really want to say. Just go ahead and say that.
Yeah, it's just like the old VHSs they used to sell on the corner.
Yeah, so you know what I mean. He's saying basically, it's old dirty bastard. It's no good. All right, no problem. All right, so I interrupt you. My bad, brother. Social media handle. Give the social media handle.
Yeah, social media. We're heavy on Instagram, so it's Bean to Bean Coffee Co. Bean to Bean again with the number 2. Bean to Bean Coffee Co.
Okay.
And then Facebook, you could just Bean to Bean Coffee Company, and you'll find us there as well. But we're really heavy on Instagram, and we're on LinkedIn as well.
Okay, now let me ask this question, because I don't know if I heard this correctly. Is there a physical location right now, a coffee shop in existence? You said down in Center City?
So Center City, we have an office. But
Okay, office.
our facility is in Fort Richmond, where we do all of our distribution and some of our roasting there. We don't have a physical store.
Okay.
But if you're in the Philly area, or if you're in Jersey and you want to come up, or if you're in the nearby area, every Friday from 9 to 12, we do coffee at $10 a pound out of our warehouse. And we also started doing breakfast sandwiches with a local chef, who's, cooked actually all over the world. He actually worked in Chicago for a while. And he's throwing down some slamming sandwiches in the morning. And then we have some local pastries from a couple of bake shops we work with, and bagels. So yeah, if you want to come check us out, we're in Port Richmond at 3451 Edgemont Street, 19134, and that's every Friday from 9 to 12.
Good stuff, fellas. Before we wrap it up and get you opportunity, maybe I didn't ask you something. Is there anything you want the folks to know before we wrap it up that I might have missed, didn't ask, that you need to get out to the masses of the people?
I just want to say thank you for letting us talk. This was fun. You can visit us at beantobean.com. If you're in Philly, we deliver next day. We got some new roasts coming out. We got a whiskey coffee. Check that one out.
Whoa. You got a whiskey. Yeah. What? See, now you
yeah.
Okay. Say it again.
I guess we're saving the best for that last.
That makes me want to sing my Fred Sanford song.
Yeah, he just snuck that right on in there at the end. Rat bastard.
We have a whiskey coffee. We took these Brazilian beans and we aged them in a Buffalo Trace barrel for 6 months. And we rotated them. And the reason why we use a Brazilian coffee is because it's a softer bean and it absorbs more flavors than other coffee. So we left it in the barrel for 6 months, and then we roasted it, and it's doing really good. We're really happy with that one. Next year we got a mezcal one coming out that we're doing some testing on right now, but we're with Ilegal mezcal out of Brooklyn. And then we got a new Guatemalan coffee. If you like light roast, it's our lightest coffee that we've roasted so far. We've seen a lot of good feedback. And then if you have any MMA fans on here, jiu-jitsu fans, we actually work with the Gracie family on a collaboration. So that's just released last week. So it's called Gracie Grounds. It's a Brazilian coffee. It's a blend of naturals and washed coffees from Brazil, and that's really good. We're really happy with, from the day we launched it to what we're seeing as far as feedback and as far as sales go. And then we got a pretty cool collaboration with a French toast company local here in Philly, French Toast Bites. Check that out too if you like flavored coffees. It's our only flavored coffee. We don't use syrup. We actually use her spice that she put a French toast in the coffee. So got a lot of good options for everybody and anybody.
Oh man, now okay, all this stuff will be on the website.
It's It's all on the website. Yep, just go to the shop tab, and all of our coffees are on there.
There you have it, folks. Bean to Bean, Obel Jr. and Sr. I want to thank you for being a guest on Smoke World. Appreciate you. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But there you have it, folks. Another episode of Smoke World is in the books. Again, you can follow me on Instagram at Smoke World Podcast. Emails, stone@smokeworldpodcast.com. And again, check out the website, folks. The great Bean to Bean Coffee is one of the sponsors. Thank you. Go check them out. Click on the link. Go get the coffee. Go do the right thing. Leave those K-cups alone. That's not for you. That's not real coffee. Again, we will check you out on the other side, folks. Peace.